Ed Wood from 1994, directed by Tim Burton, starring Johnny Depp, Martin Landau, Bill Murray, and Sarah Jessica Parker again. So I have two films from her on this list. The plot summary here is ambitious but troubled movie director Edward D. Wood Jr. tries his best to fulfill his dreams despite his lack of talent. So this film I put on the list because I think it does a great job of, for me at least, reflecting so much of what makes the people of LA unique. Their sense of culture, which is really just full of creative people. Like, yeah, there's people here that, do other jobs, but, every dentist has a screenplay. Every, it's like so many people here, even if you're not in the industry, you kind of dream of being a part of it. But most of these people that are out here to strike it big don't make it. The majority of them don't make it. But they're coming out here because they have that passion for what they do, even if they're not really even good at it, like the director in this film. So this is a biopic of a real director, Ed Wood, who is a famous director, or later famous for making some of the worst movies ever made. So I don't know if folks have seen like Plan 9 from Outer Space. That's his most famous one. But he was basically a B movie exploitation film director in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And then after he passed away in the 80s, with the dawn of VHS and video culture, he was sort of like resurrected and appreciated for what he was doing. And I think what this movie does is, again, Ed in this film really represents the heart of the artists who come to LA. Like, these are people that are innocent. That's really what Ed represents. He has a passion and energy and drive, and he believes that he is going to be successful, even though if everyone around him is telling him that he's terrible. In his movies, yeah, they are actually objectively bad. There's a scene where he's talking to a financier and he's like, I just paid for this movie and this is the worst movie I've ever seen. And Ed Wood's like, well, I promise my next film will be better. And it's like this optimism here that so much of LA, despite like the grind of, coming in here and trying to make it, quote unquote, in Hollywood, is really difficult. So many of the people that I've met who've come in, they don't kind of get dejected or cynical. They just keep at it because they love what they do and they love that craft. But then B, they just believe in themselves. And I think those are two things that just, you might not be the next Steven Spielberg, but I mean, honestly, even if you're, the next Ed Wood and making movies, I think that is really all that, all that you need. I think, there's also a couple other points that this movie does a good job of kind of making. It's a great tribute to old classic Hollywood. So in the film, Ed befriends Bela Lugosi, who was a huge star in the 30s with Dracula, but he's now been cast aside. And I think this is symbolized a lot in LA, where, there's definitely some people in LA that have reverence for the past, but at the same time, people I feel like don't also have a sense of history here. It's all about what's happening now. Are you hot now? What's the next thing you have? It's like looking at the present, but even more so the future, not so much about your past, which is nice in a way. It's not like, other places where it's like, oh, who's your family from? What have you done before? And that's how you're measured. You're measured by how are you performing now and how are you performing in the future. So then you get people like Bela Lugosi that, again, fell in hard times. He's a drug addict in the film. It's really, really sad, but Ed he does appreciate him because he loves his old films. And I think that does a really good job of capturing that. The people in LA that are here for have that sense of history, even though the city is so much focused more on like what's trendy now and what's trending in the future. And the other big thing I think this movie touches on that I definitely feel from the people in LA too, that, a lot of these folks, especially the artists, they're all outsiders, right? They've come from their various small towns or other cities where they were maybe like the weird art kid or the kid who was like the outcast. And this is where you come, where all the outcasts kind of come, who are interested at least in making art. So, Ed himself is a cross-dresser. So that sort of makes him an outsider. He, is basically his cast of people he's making films with, or, a failed TV host, a wrestler, a bunch of just like rejected, people from mainstream Hollywood. It's like band of misfit toys basically are together trying to make a film. And I think that is definitely something that you really do get a sense of here in LA, of people that are coming to find their people. And if you're an artist, this is definitely like a town where you're finding your people. I think this movie does a great tribute that not everyone is going to make it, right? But this film is about the people that try. Though, in a way, the movie does have a happy ending with they kind of, change history a little bit and make, the screening at the end of Plan 9 go really well. And, just knowing that Ed, at least after his death, is now looked back upon as an important filmmaker, even though he made bad films. And the film itself is you got a biopic made after you. Like, that's making it in a way that, even if you don't do it in your life, you just keep at it and have that positive attitude, you can succeed in that way. So, I just felt this movie is one of my favorite movies. Tim Burton, actually, director, I don't think we've talked about yet, is definitely one of the most important directors to me, for sure, in terms of my falling in love with film and influence on me growing up. And I think this is one of his best films, and really a film that to me just captures LA in a way that is not done in a lot of other films.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And so you recommended this movie to me and had been for years and years. And I finally watched it a few years ago. And I think I texted you right after how blown away I was with this movie. Because, when I hear the name Tim Burton, as much as I like his movies, but there's a sense of like fantasy and such, which is just not my genre, as we've established in the past. I think this is probably his most grounded movie, and in my mind, maybe his best movie.
I can totally see that.
It's just so well done, and like everything you said, I totally agree with it. I would just add the friendship between Martin Landau and Johnny Depp's character is just so amazing. Speaking of friendship movies, like this is a great friendship movie as well. And like you were saying, right, that LA can be quite harsh in terms of judging people for where are you from, where do you live, what car do you drive. All of these things seem to matter, but then that's the beauty of LA because it's so big. There are all kinds of people. You do find the purists who just have a connection with somebody, even though they are a total loser, but they connect because they connect on some creative thing that they are both fans of, or there's mutual admiration, or even unidirectional admiration because they really revere the work that they've done in the past. And I think that this movie does such a great job. And then also, like you were saying, it brought a smile to my face just watching these people create something, ultimately that's the prize. Of course, everybody wants to make it big and have their work celebrated in some ways, but I just keep thinking I made short films, so I know how hard it is. The fact that they are just in a room together making something, that is the prize to me. And I don't know, that made me really happy. So this is a great comfort movie, sits very well in my sort of melancholy space of movies that I like. So yeah, and also probably Johnny Depp's best performance. I think.
He's definitely one of his best. I think this was when he was firing on all cylinders in the 90s, and this is a fantastic performance. And Martin Landau as well, who was got Oscar recognition, for his performance there. But you're right. The friendship in this movie is very special. And, another thing in LA, I think that is important to like find your crowd, find your friends, much like in I Love You Man too, that helps you kind of navigate, especially in the industry. Like if you're in Hollywood, it's all about helping each other. And, which again, Johnny Depp here, or Ed Wood, is helping out his friend Bella try to continue to make films, even though he's way past his prime and has all these drug problems.
And vice versa, right? With Bella's name on it, he is somehow able to get this thing made.
Yeah, they both benefit. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just a fantastic film. Hey there, it's Alex. If you like the review and discussion Karan and I just had, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Movies That Shaped Us, to get full episodes. Every other Wednesday, Karan and I cover a topic around important people, places, events, and moments in our lives, and then explore it through 3 of our favorite movies. Subscribe right now, or follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts via the link in the description below. Hope you join us for the journey.